Yeah. All right. So, good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Nun Dalet and Nun Hey. So, but we left off at Nun Dalet. So we left off. We were discussing. We had the Mishnah, which says one is Bali Vimta. The way he acquires his Yavama is through anyway onus ratzon, whether he's forced, she's forced, unknowingly. But if there was a Maisa Bia, and we said the Maisa Bia even include Ha'ara. Ha'ara is basically the Tchilas Bia, the beginning of the Bia. So that all acquires the woman, the transaction. She is now his full Yavama. So Minohani Mili, we're around, I don't know, 7 lines on the top. 3, 6, I think 7. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7 lines from the top. Minohani Mili. So we were discussing in terms of that any way he can be acquire her. Nundala Maralaf Minohani Mili. So the Tan Rabbanan, it says Yivam Yavo Aleha. So a mitzvah. It says over there Yivam Yavo Aleha. So it says over there, then that's the mitzvah. There's a mitzvah of Yibum, Davar Acher, Yivam Yavo Aleha, Bein B'Shoigeg, Bein B'Mezid, Bein B'Einus, Bein B'Ratzon, right? Whether it was B'Shoigeg, right? It was accidental. In other words, he didn't even think that he was going to acquire her, Bein B'Mezid, or purposely, Bein B'Einus, right? He was forced, Bein B'Ratzon, or he was willingly. I V'Hav Kisa the mitzvah. I mean, we just use the same pasuk. Yivam Yavo Aleha. How can you use Davar Acher, like the same words, right, to teach you something else? So the Gemara says no. The mitzvah may be im lo yachvas ish nafka. That's for if he doesn't choose to. In other words, if he chooses to, that's a mitzvah. So ha chapitz. But if he does, yup, right? But if he wants to go ahead, then he can go ahead and acquire b'chiyas akra, and therefore. So the pasuk says if he doesn't want to choose, sounds like if he does choose, he can acquire b'chiyas akra. When the pasuk comes to teach Yivam Yavo Aleha, bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid, bein b'yonis, bein b'rasa. So you can acquire any of those ways. So Tani Yidach in another brisa it says Yivam Yavo Aleha kedarka. It says that's kedarka, right? When he has the normal way, right, of bia, the lakha, and then it says it takes her shloi kedarka. That teaches shloi kedarka, right? Bia shloi kedarka. So and therefore in such a way that he could acquire even shalom kedarka. Then it says v'yavam. Then it says v'yavam. So bia gomeres ba bein kesav shtar gomer ba. It says v'yavam. Therefore it teaches only dafka with bia, right? Not to get confused. I know by kedushin, right? We all know the first Mishnah, bein kesav shtar bia. So those don't work to acquire her completely. It's only through the bia and not through kesav shtar gomer ba. V'yivma. So bal karcha it says even against her will. Davar acher. Yivam Yavo Aleha. Bein b'shogeg v'chulei. Right. Whether any way shogeg or v'einus ratzon. Right. V'ha v'kisa l'kedarka. What do you mean? We just use this pasuk Yivam Yavo Aleha to teach us that it's kedarka. Sahu melehikim la'achiv l'shem nafka. In other words, that over there teaches that you take her right to have a child right. And then with the name of the father. Right, with the name of the deceased uncle, nafka. So therefore, b'makam shame, and therefore, in other words, it teaches you that only way to go ahead and produce children is bia kedarka, right? The normal way, right? V'chiyas akra bein b'shogeg, and therefore, so the other pasuk that teaches shalom kedarka, v'chiyas akra bein b'shogeg bein mezid bein ma'os b'ratzon. To teach us that through any other way. So in other words, over here we see that that kedarka is not a special pasuk of kedarka because that's known. Kedarka is the only way to have children is a normal way, as opposed to bishloy kedarka, which one cannot go ahead and produce children in such a way. Gufa. So we're in the middle of Nundal. Amrav Yehuda Yashan Loikana Biyavimto. If he's sleeping. Right, and there's a Maisa Bia in his sleep. He has not acquired his Yivam. Damar Kar, the pasuk Yivam Yavo Aleha, Ad Mechavin La L'Shem Bia, until he acquires her for the purpose of Bia. So if he's sleeping, he can't go ahead and be Mechavin. I Vatanya Bein Bein Yashan, whether he's awake or he's sleeping. So Ema Bein Ara Bein Yashana. Right, no, he is if he's sleeping. That's one. Right, but over there is referring to if she is sleeping, right? Bein ara bein yashan or yashena, she's sleeping. I vatanya bein er who bein yashan who bein era he bein yashna he, right? Whether he's asleep or awake, or she's asleep or awake. So how come I skinan benis bemisnanim? No, not that that he can't be sleeping. In other words, he could be sort of dozing off, right? But it's if she is sleeping, you acquire. But if he's completely sleeping, that won't work. But if he's dozing off, that would work. And Heichidam Misnamnim, the Gemara says, what is the case of Misnamnim? Some Ravashi, Nim, right? He's sleeping, but he's awake and he's awake. Kigain de Karale, Ani, you know, he's sort of, spacing out, dozing off. And therefore, such a person cannot go ahead and really answer, right? With svara, with logic. But if they remind him what happened, then that he'll remember that, right?
But you can do the mitzvah.
Right. I was right. I was get an example when I was a child, watching TV and your mother asks you questions, you answer and say, hey, why'd you give me this? I just asked you and you said yes. Like, oh, okay, I guess I was doing that. So like that's sort of the mindset where he was. So if he is in that mindset, right, then he could go ahead and acquire. But her, even if she was sleeping, he could acquire her through that way. Gufa. Amar Rabba Nafal min Agav when he's going chayiv be'arbat dvarim uvivim to leikan. So we mentioned earlier, if one falls from a roof, right, and he had kishui, right, and he fell upon a woman. So normally, you fall off, he would be chayiv for 4 different things. For violating woman, those 4 damages caused to a woman. However, b'yavimto. But if he fell upon his Yavama, his sister-in-law, leikana, right?
Did this ever happen?
I can't speak to whether this ever happened, but in theory, if it would happen, this is how they would rule. Now, Benezik was a Shabbos briefly of a Boishas loy mechayiv, right? But he's chayiv for damages and pain. Right, and if she's out of work or health bills about baishas, but the person in chayiv ala baishas actually is chayiv. The only way for one to be chayiv for embarrassment is only if he intends to. In chayiv ala baishas actually is chayiv. And Amar Rava niskavin lakia latiach b'kaisel v'tiach b'yivimta. If he goes ahead and he has in mind, right, to lahatiach, right, to go ahead and go ahead and press against an animal, against a wall, and he's like he presses up against, or he sort of has intends and intends
another meaning.
Latiach, usually not. I mean, over here, but it could mean press against. But over here, he's mechavin for bia, right, for relations. But the wall v'tiach b'yivimta like kani is not acquired, or however latiach b'hema v'tiach b'yivam kana. But he would acquire his yivam in such a way to have a kabachan l'shem bia b'yalim, because that he is intending for bia, right, with an animal. Right, and happens. So since he has kavana for bia, so that would acquire his yivama. But to go ahead and to have bia with a wall, that is not considered kimischavein, and therefore he would not acquire. So echad amara. So we said over there also, the Mishnah said. So you guys are all ways, and then we said whether it's ones ratzon mason shogeg, and then we said. Echad hamara v'echad ha'gaimer, right? Mara and gaim. So ma'ara is defined basically as tchilas bia, right? The beginning of bia. So we're going to have a machlekes on the second block today of what exactly is tchilas bia, right? What exactly is hamara, right? The initial part of the bia. So he acquires her even in such a way amara. So Amar Ula, first wide line, minayin la'ara min atayr. Where do we see ha'ara works within a Torah? In other words, that's considered to be bia. Shnamar, as the pasuk says, the isha asher yishka vesisha dava v'gala as ervasa as mekara as right. So we're soon going to see actually a lot of psukim that we saw this the Shabbos from Vayikra Yudches. So it says over there, right? This is this coming Shabbos, right? So the person it says over there. He uses the word ha'ara, right? So he lies with a woman, right? And then he reveals her erva. As mekaira ha'ara. So he says ha'ara mikan ha'ara minatara. Over here we see ha'ara is minatara. So Ashka nida. So this over here is said by nida. Shara rayis minayin. So by nida, if one is bayal nida, was just ha'ara with tchilas bia, the beginning, the initial. Now this is machlokas le'arab, right? One is just means a neshika, right? It's contact. Right, the other says Torah, right? The initial penetration, right? So there's a machlokes as to what is that. So that's ha'ara. We'll get to it later on. However, so that's only said by a nida, right? In order for a person to be chayiv or to become tameh, right? When he's with a nida. What about sharayas? But other cases of arayas, right? We said one would also be chayiv for this. So, or acquire his yivama. So we know by other cases, minayin. So if you want to say, okay, let's just learn nida. Mala nida shechem etamis bo. So nida is a little different because there's a special halacha, right? There's a unique halacha when it comes to nida that he becomes tamei. So ella asyam eishes ach. Right. Rather, we learn it from the wife, from one's brother's wife. The pasuk says, "V'isha sher yikach es eishes achiv nida he." Right, so a person takes he lies with his brother's wife. She's a nida. But is his brother's wife always a nida? Right. So it says v'isha sheyichach is he ella kanida. Rather, she's like a nida. Ma nida ba'ara, just like by nida. Right, that one who is considered to be a chayiv once there's hara. Bara. So too Eshazach is with Ara. So the Gemara says no. Mal Eshazach shechein biyad l'rabis. Right? When it comes to Eshazach, so that isser, right, depends on whoever he chooses to marry. If he wants to go ahead and be Mekadesh woman, he adds additional women. So right? He even add up to 1,000. Ella Asya, rather. So let's now learn it from Eshes Achiv. Rather, Ella Asya mi achos af, the achos a, right? Rather, it has to do with, right, your father or your mother's sister, right? Your aunt, right? Your aunt. So your aunt, which is not, added through addition of marriage, right? So therefore, maybe we'll say, let's learn it from achos av and achos a. The Chassid says, "Ve'erbas achos imecha ve'achos avicha leistigala ki asher ha'ara." He's over there. So the Gemara says, no, right? So that is an isser that comes on its own, right? It's not done through marriage, it comes on its own. So okay, maybe we can't learn from one of them. So now so far we mentioned 3 potential sources: Nida, Eishes Achiv, and Achos Av. So we can't learn from one. Maybe we can learn from 2. So which one? If we learn it from your brother's wife, and also the and your father, your mother's your sister, those are related to you because of relation, right? As opposed to, let's say, Ish, right? Ish, you're not related to a married woman, right? All married women, someone else's married wife, right? So where do you know hara over there would be chai, right? So that's not something which is because of your relation to the person. So so let's learn it from nida, right? Who is not an isser of relation, versus your father, your mother's sister. So well, those are isurim that come on their own, right, and not through marriage at all. So right? Rather, we can learn from nida, right, and eishazach, that both of them that include there, they come on its own. Also, it's through marriage and also through relationships, or through, right, that you're related. So therefore, since the combination of those 2, we'll say that just like in those cases, ha'ara, one is chai. In that case, all you need is tchilas bia. So to over here, any other case, it's tchilas bia. So maskava Rav Acha beredavika umalanida ve'eshes achshachein ein lehem heter b'chaya iser. Well, what about the case of a nida while she's a nida, or eshesach? There is no heter. When while it's inexistent, so time right? right? Where there is, right, he who asters her while he's alive can still exist, such as he divorces her. Similarly, Rav Acha medif to the Ravina, so atu nida ve'eshes ach b'chai oisin hu de'ela heter avali achar mikani ish heter, right? What? So only during their life, right? There's no heter, but only after there's a heter. So nida, right? So you say nida b'yoyme tali milsa, right? Top of the page, right? So that's dependent upon the days, right? And Eishes Ach, right? And Eishes Ach is also the Banataya Rahman, right? That Eishes Ach also has to, depends on children. In other words, if there's no children, then she would be mutter. Ella Parichach, let's say like this. Malanida ve'Eishes Ach shechen eisin matira, just like by need and Eishes Ach, right? That there those who aser, right? Don't permit them to marry be'Eishes Ish she'eiser matira. Right, but rather the one who is mattering it is the one who made it usher. In other words, the person who marries her and he divorces her, so it's upon him, as opposed to a nida, right? It's not upon her, and opposed to Eishzach, opposed right, and Eishzach not upon him. So Ella, rather, this is how the Gemara is going to go ahead and conclude. Rabbi Yoina v'tema Rav Huna b'rei Yeshua Amar Akra. The says ki kol asher yasam ekol tevis ha'ela v'nichas or nefashos. So it says, and it compares them all together. So huksha kol arayis kula nida. And this is said by nida. So therefore we make a hekesh, right? It's called the hekesh, the Rabbi Yoina. So the hekesh is all the arayis compared to nida. Ma nida b'ha'ara af kol ba'ara. So just like by nida, the halach is by ha'ara, just chilas bia at the beginning of bia is chayiv. So too ha'ara by all other arayis, we say is one would be chayiv for ha'ara. Vela nida the ksiva gabi eishes ach lamali. So over there, so it says all right. So that's good. Now the question is, remember we mentioned that the pasuk by eishes ach, right? By your brother's wife, it called her a nida, right? So why did it call her nida, right? The Gemara asked for, we tried to learn, well, is she always a nida? No, she's not. Rather, compared to a nida, we don't need that because we have the hekshah of the Rabbi Yoina. So el nida ksiva gabe eishes ach lamali look at Rav Huna. Like Rav Huna, Rav Huna, Rev is the yavam min atayra minayin. Where is the head for yibam min atayra? So the Gemara says minayin haksiv yavam yivolah. What do you mean? Where's the hint in the Torah? It says the fairish pasuk in the Torah is the commandment in the Torah. Ela Rev is the yavam shasura b'chayibala minayin. Rather, where is the hint for the Yavama is aser during his lifetime? Minayin, in other words, even when he's married to her, and even if he divorces her, right? So then, still aser. So hi svarhi. So this is svar. By the fact that the Torah says, okay, if he dies, then she's mutter. So michlal devachayibala asura. So you can infer from there. Now, while he's alive, if the brother doesn't die, even if he divorced her, whatever it is, then she is us. So, why do we need a hint then? If the pasuk, if we see a chayra that she becomes mutter only after his death, obviously before his death she would be usher. So once again, we still don't know why it says nida by eishazach. So v'dilma le'achar misas by la mitzvah. Maybe it means that after he dies, then it's a mitzvah. But while he's still alive, maybe if he wants to, he can. Inami or liachar misas ba'ila in b'chayi ba'alo. Or maybe it just means that only after he dies, then there's a mitzvah to go ahead and take her. But while he's still alive, right, then you can. Right, and then it's only a chayve aseh. In other words, the commandment, right? Take your brother's wife when he's dead. Mashma, that's the chiyuv there, but the isser on it is only a chayvi aseh. It's not an isser arai. It's not an isser kares. Rather, it's just an isser chayvi aseh. So Amar Kradaba says v'ish asher yikach es eishes achiv nidahi. Rather, since it says v'ish, someone takes his brother's wife nidahi. V'chi eishes achiv nidahi. Ela kanida. Rather, she's like a nida. Mani da afal b'yisheyesh laheter liacher mikan. Even though there is a heter later on, or even a mitzvah, it's a heter. So b'shas yisur b'kares. However, when it's asur, it's b'kares. Afeishes achnami. Even though there's a heter, eventually, kares. Therefore, now that while he's alive, it's still kares. So that's the comparison to Nida, right? When Nida is mutter, she's mutter. When she's not mutter, it's her kares. So too by Zach, right? When she is mutter, i.e. b'makom mitzvah, b'makom yibum, then it's a mitzvah. But when it's not permitted, i.e. let's say he just divorced her, even if he has no kids, then it would still be Isser Kares. Fine. So now we mentioned another pasuk. We said there's ha'ara that was written by your father or your mother's sister. So lamali, why do we need that? Why did it mention ha'ara over there? Look at the boy Ravina me Rafa, like that which Ravina asked Rafa. Ha'ara b'zachor mahu. So one who does ma'ara with a male, with zachor, right? Male and a male, right? Mahu. So b'zachor mishkavei isha ksiva, right? So it says normally by zachor it says mishkavei isha ksiva. So therefore l'chayra, right? Right. So it would be similar to that of a woman. In other words, so Ella hamara behema. Maybe it means bara behema mahu. So Amalei in lahara the ksiva gabav achas ave achasem. Since I don't need the pasuk by achas ave achasem because we said all the cases earlier are compared to one another and ha'ara works. So why is ha'ara dafka in this case? And we don't need it by mishkav zachar because we said mishkav zachar is no different than mishkav isha, right? Rather, so it says Gabi Achas Avi Achasem. Says Asibek Keshem and Rabbi Yonah, because that we just learned from Rabbi Yonah. We don't need it there to teach you by your father, or your mother's sister. So it's in Lahara Behema. So then we'll say, okay, Ha'ara is by Behema. That if one does Ha'ara, right, one does Tchilas Bia with an animal, then he's already Chai. So Michli Behema Bechayve Misas Beisani. Well, with one is bestiality, right? With the mishkave, with the behema, that's chayiv misas based in. It's not chayiv kares, it's misas based in. So my timer, siv ha'ara didei, gabi chayiv krisis, lichla gabi misas based in. All right, vanilla misas based in and misas based in. So I understand if the whole point of learning from achas av and achas aim is to teach us by behema. Well, behema is chayiv misas based in. So wouldn't it make more sense for there to be this ha'ara, this word ha'ara to appear by Mrs. Bezdin, right, such as one's mother or something like that, right, versus a case of where it's only chayvi krisis. So I did kulakra l'darsha siksi nami ha'milsa l'drasha. Since the entire pasuk is written for drasha, so therefore we can say that we also darshan it even to cases of they're not chayvi kares. Rather, even a case of Mises Bezdin, such as with Behim. Now, my drasha. What do you mean? The whole pasuk is for the drasha. The Tanya, we learn in Raisa, it says Ervas Achos Avicha Sigala. So the pasuk which Azzy read so nicely yesterday. I'm just guessing. Did you read yesterday? All right, fine. It was Rabbi Reese read so nicely yesterday. So Ervas last year. Okay. So Ervas Achos Avicha Sigala. So the pasuk says, maybe did you read it on Yom Kippur? Did you read it on Yom Kippur?
I don't usually do that.
Okay, right.
David Giant.
Okay, right. So he says, Ervas achos avicha le'sigala. So he say the Ervas of your father's sister le'sigala. So we learned from over there, bein mina av, bein minim. So now there's a new aspect we're about to discuss. Now your father's sister or your mother's, or we'll get to your mother's sister soon also, but how are they brother and sister? Right? Are they full brother and sister, i.e. the same mother and same father? Or maybe they're only half siblings. Your father's half siblings, right? That's what it means. Bei mina av. In other words, if they share your father's sister because they have the same father, right? Or bei mina av or bei mina aim, or even, right, which is more of a chiddush, or if it's your father's sister, only his maternal sister. They share the same mother, but not the same father. So is it either one, right? Whether she's your father's maternal or paternal sister, or maybe it's only his paternal sister. They share the same father and not the same, but if the same mother, then it's not considered to be his sister. V'din chayiv kan says he's chayiv here. V'chayiv b'achayso, and it says by one's sister. Now, not your father or your mother's sister, rather your own sister. We learn over there by your sister. When it comes to your sister, we know it's both. Or it's not both. It could be either one, right? Either one. So to over here, your aunt, right, is also whether it's your whether she's your aunt by only paternally or maternally, your father's sister, or go this way. Now here's another case, right? Now don't confuse it, it's also your aunt, but there's a different aunt, right? This is your dodaso by your father's brother's wife, right? Your father's brother's wife. So there's a separate pasuk. There's not one pasuk for aunts, right? There's one pasuk of your father's sister or your mother's sister, and there's another pasuk which just says your father's brother's wife, right? Which does not include your mother's brother's wife, right? Your father's brother's wife, right? That's called dodaso. So when we call dodaso your aunt, even though we touch it as aunt, it only means your whenever we're going to be referencing dodaso, it's referring to your father's brother's wife. Okay, so when it comes to or maybe we learn from your father's brother's wife, dodaso, right? But over there, it's only if it's your father's paternal brother's wife and not his maternal brother's wife. So too over here. So now, these are the givens. The givens that we know, and we'll soon the Gemara will ask. When it comes to dodaso, your father's brother's wife, it's only his paternal brother, right? When it comes to your sister, it's your maternal or paternal. So we want to know which one to learn out with when it comes to your father or mother's sister. So near the daima. So which one is more similar to? Danin iser haba me'elav me'isr haba me'elav. V'yatochich dodaso shein iser haba me'elav. Do we say let's learn from one that comes on its own, in other words, just from being born, i.e., your own sister is similar to your father's sister? Or maybe we learn that your father's sister should be similar related as your father's brother's wife, because that all comes from the isser of your father and not your own isser, i.e., your own sister. Therefore, it says ervas achos avicha leisigala. Therefore, it says again ervas achos avicha, the erva of your father's sister leisigala bei mina av bei mina ein. So therefore, it tells you the extra pasuk, since this whole pasuk is coming to darshan to teach you that even when it comes to your father's sister, it can be either his paternal sister or even his maternal sister. And ervas achos imecha leisigala. And then it says the erba of your mother's sister, leisigala, bei min av, bei min ein. Lamali. There's a lamali michtava biachos av, right? Lamali michtava biachos ein. So that which it says over there, why does it say both, right? Your father's sister and your mother's sister. L'chayra shouldn't be the same. Some ravivo tzrichet. You need it. Dikas rachman biachos av, shekein yesh lachayis, right? Maybe when it comes to your father, maybe it's also paternal maternal, because that's over here who that he has he's related to, right? In other words, that's who that a person has is mishpachas av, right? Your father's family. That's the mishpacha. So therefore, maybe by your father or more machmer, even his maternal or paternal sister. But maybe when it comes to the mother, maybe it's not. Because of Rachmana be'achosem, and if it says in the case by achosem shechein v'dois, right? We know she's related for sure, right? There's never is a question of who's the mother, right? We always know who the mother is because she has the baby, right? But when it comes to the father, I mean, you assume it's the husband, but you never know. You can never be 100% sure that the father is the father. So maybe maternal is more related, right? So it's because that's v'dois. Because the Rachmana ba'achosem shechein v'dois about achos av, but your father's relatives. Maybe it's not necessarily my father. Maybe he's somebody else. So therefore, it's svicha. Fine. Period. V'dodaso. Now, going back to what we said earlier, one of the givens that we had, or the assumptions, right, that we took for granted, was that when it comes to dodaso, remember your father's brother's wife. We said that only applies to, No, not yet. But dodaso. Even for the other case, we'll get. But also the b'shita, the Tana Damina Avlim, and that which was pasha to the Tana, that when it talks about your father's brother's wife, right? It's only he has to be his dafka, his father's paternal brother, but not his maternal brother. Siminales, really not. So I'm a Rava, Asya Dodo. The Xershav Dodo Ksiv Hach. It says Ervas Dodo Gil. It says over there, right, the irva, right, the nakedness of your dodo, right, of your uncle. The Ksiv Hasan says there, Oh, dodo, ben dodo, yigolenu. It says over there regarding redeeming a relative. Says so the mishpacha should go ahead and redeem him, right? Oh, dodo, ben dodo, yigolenu. So malo min avlo min aim, just like over there when we talking about that your family should go ahead and redeem someone who is a slave, it's only referring to someone's paternal family, not maternal family. So over here where it says dodaso, it's referring to your father's paternal brother and not his maternal brother, right? It can be both, right? But it can't just be the maternal brother. The Hasaminal, and over there, how do we know? So Amar the says Mishpachto Yigaleno, from his family, you should go ahead and redeem him. Mishpachas Av Kuri Mishpachas Aim Eni Mishpachas. Only Mishpachas Av is called your family. However, the Mishpacha of your mother, Ena Kariya Mishpacha, is not referred to. Yeah. So this is why only men should learn and not women, right? Fine. That which we learn in the Mishnah. All right. So Amr Lo Mesa Ishtecha. They tell somebody. So your wife died. He was traveling overseas, or she was, and they said your wife died. V'nasa bi'achaisa me'aviha. And then he went ahead and married her sister, right? Her me'aviha, her paternal sister. Mesa, and now they told him, oh, by the way, your second wife died again, right? So you got bad luck. The Nasa Achaisa Me'ima. And then he marries the second one's maternal sister. It gets worse. Mesa, they tell her the number that she dies, right? Number 3 dies. The Nasa Achaisa Me'avia. And then he went ahead and married her paternal sister. And then Mesa, and they told him, oh, by the way, your wife died again, your fourth wife. Nasa Achaisa Me'ima. Mutter. Now, man, so here's the case. So he marries a woman, right? And then until she dies, so he marries her paternal sister. Then until she dies, marries maternal sister, and so on and so forth 5 times. So if you take a look at those who have the pictures, right, over there in the art scroll, right, there's a picture lined up. There's 5 different circles of the women he keeps marrying, but each one is married. It's like every other one. Maternal, paternal, maternal, paternal, maternal, paternal.
Said his name is Drew Peterson.
Yeah.
Serial killer.
All right. Now, mutter. Now all of a sudden it turns out, by the way, your first one didn't die. Oops. Right. So you never should have married. Right. All of them are alive. Right. But it was linking with the first one. So now, what do we say? The second one that he married was his wife's sister. You can't marry your wife's sister, right? But you can marry your wife's sister's sister, right? For different parents, right? So therefore,
No,
you can marry.
they're not related. They're not related. Number 2, the third one isn't related to the first one.
Right. So the first was alive. You can't marry your sister.
So they're not related.
Stepsisters.
So 1, 3, and 5, he's married to, right? Because the link of right number 2 is no good, and also from 3 to 4 is no good because that's it's a second wife's sister. So you say right, and those are completely, they're co-wives of one another, right? And if in the case of a yibum, he dies, right, then he has a brother, and then one of them marries one of them, or one of them is related to the brother, then the other ones go off free. It's a full, complete co-wife. The Yasser B'Shnei Ravis. Right, yeah, but it turns out they're co-wives, right? Right. Now, Ubavris, now Yasser B'Shnei Ravis. Ve'ein bias achas me'em poter sarasa, and therefore the bia with anyone not pater tzara ve'im balish shniya liachar misas rishayna. Now, if it turns out that really number 1 was dead, so number 2 he can marry. But the problem is, and then 2 through 5 are alive. So now 2 he's married to, 3 he can't be because it's his wife's maternal sister. Even that relation is his sister, right? So it's no good. But he can marry number 4 because 4 was not related to 2, who was his real wife, only related to 3, which is okay. Right. And those are full co-wives. And therefore us with 3 and 5. But what do you see from here? Alma. What's the case over here? Top of the page of today's daf. Achos ishto bein mina av bein mina aim asuros. we see that your wife's sister, whether it's her maternal sister or paternal sister, both of them are included in the Isser of your wife's sister. Because we said even if he was married to one and he cannot be married to her maternal sister, right? That was the case of where he was much 2 and 4. That was the second case. The other cases were paternal. That was those. It would elaborate those cases. Otherwise, in this case, so in that case, Alma Achos Ishto, his wife's sister, being Bein Aim Asuros. Now, Minallah, and where do we know that from? Yalif Me'achaiso. We learn that from Achaiso, from one's own sister. Ma'achaiso being Aim. When one is forbidden to his sister, whether it's only his paternal or maternal sister. Afkan, so it's over here, one's wife's sister, Bein Av Bein Aim. V'lilech mi Dodaso. Why don't you learn from Dodaso? Right? And Dodaso is his father's brother's wife. Ma Dodaso being Aim. When it comes to his father's brother's wife, it's only his paternal brother and not his maternal brother. Afkan. So it's over here. We're talking about your wife's sister. Afkan. So the Gemara says, no, it's more logical to say to learn out your wife's sister from your own sister. Right? Because one's own relations, but one relation versus through marriage. So the Gemara says, no, we learn from the Dasa. Because that over there, your wife's sister is really usher to you because you married your wife, right? Versus the other, and also your father's brother's wife because he married her.
So it wasn't a blood relationship.
Right, it was linked through marriage. Se'ela me'eshes ach yalfina. Rather, we learn from Eshes ach, right? Going back to Eshes ach, your brother's wife, yalfina shechein. The shechein davar de kedushin v'kavi atzmo, because that over there is through kedushin, your brother's wife. You know, he's marrying somebody also v'kavi atzmo because it's your brother. So how do you know your brother's wife is usher, whether it's maternal or paternal? Minales. The time when the Bryce says is ervas eish zachicha loisigalo. So the extra pasuk of ervas zachicha, right, which we read this past week, ervas eish zachicha loisigala, beimina beimina. Whether it's your brother's wife, he's your maternal or paternal brother, either way, she's usher. Is it either one is maternal or paternal, or only paternal and not maternal? The dinu chayiv. So no, you can learn from logic. Chayiv kan v'chayiv mechaisa. The chayiv here and the chayiv mechaisa. Machaisa bin av bin aim afkan bein min av bein min aim. So maybe we learn from Achaiso, right, which is either paternal or maternal, or Klachla derechzu, Chayiv kan v'chayiv dedaso, or you're Chayiv here and you're Chayiv in a case of your father's brother's wife. Ma dedaso min avla min aim. Just like we said earlier, we established that your father's brother's wife is only paternal and not maternal. Afkan, so too over here, right, your brother's wife, Afkan min avla min aim. So near lemi daima, which one's the similar to? It's dani kravi atzma, kravi atzma aduchich dedaso shekravi av. Do we say that it's your own relation, not your father's relationship? So therefore, we learn from over here from your sister, right? Maternal or paternal. Therefore, it should be soto case of achas eish zachicha. Oh, derechzu, or learn the other way. Davar shayidei kedushin, davar shay kedushin, right? Maybe the daso is since it's done through kedushin, should be similar to your brother's wife. And don't learn from achaisa. She is here haba mi'elav. Tamalaymer. Therefore, it says ervas achicha he. Therefore, it says again, ervas achicha he. At the end, it says ervas eish achicha lesegala, ervas achicha he, bei min av, bei min aim. So whether it's maternal or paternal, that is doesn't matter how your brother is related to you. His wife is usher. The ema idi beishes ach mina av. Maybe we're talking about over here that really both that even though yes, there is extra wording in the pasuk. Right? And maybe it's still only coming to teach you your paternal brother. So what are the two cases? Right? One is that maybe she has even kids during while he's alive. In other words, even if let's say he divorces her, right? He divorces her. Right? And the other one is, in other words, basically, let's say he divorces her, right? And whether she has kids or not kids, so both cases still usher. Or maybe it means, right? One second. Or so the question is, what do you mean? If she doesn't have kids, right? And while he's still alive, Rav Huna nachma. That was from Rav Huna because Rav Huna taught earlier that if he dies, go ahead and marry her or you take her. Mashma that if he doesn't die, if there's no kids, you can't take her. So we already know that while he's still alive, or your brother's still alive, she's asked to go ahead and take. So we can't say that's one of the reasons for the pasuk, because we already know that if he's still alive, you can't take her with no kids. So Gemara says, no, so no, still the Gemara doubles down and says, no, maybe it's still only teaching us paternal brother. And what are the two cases? One is that she has kids while he's alive. And the other one is she has kids after he dies. So what? She has kids and he dies. Right? We don't need a puzzle for them. But the Torah says right? So, but if she does have kids, then it's asur. So Gemara says no. The Dilma maybe it means ein labanim asura li alma. Maybe it means like this: if there is no banim, ein labanim asura li alma. If we say that she has no kids, then so maybe means that if she has no kids, she can't go ahead and marry everybody else, which is much of the yavam. Yesh labanim, but if she does have kids, maybe it means shari le'alma v'shari le'yavam. Then yes, she's mutter to him. She's also mutter to everybody else. Inami or ein labanim, or maybe it means he has no kids. Mitzvah. Yesh labanim, but if she does have kids and he dies, then it's only rishus. Inami or ein labanim. If there's no kids, a in yesh labanim lo.
Wait, so are we suggesting that
right now we're in serious Havamina mode where we're playing devil's advocate. We're trying to figure out, right, why we're trying to, or the Gemara keeps deflecting to prove that when you say your brother's wife is usher to you, it's both your maternal and paternal. So we're saying that there's two. It's written twice in the pasuk. Erbas achicha lo sigala and erbas achicha he. Right? It's like a double lashon. What's a double lashon? To teach you maternal, paternal. So the Gemara is now basically throwing every suggestion, even though, right, some of them, right, isn't the way we learn. And someone's saying, oh, maybe it just means that if she has no kids, then there's a mitzvah, but other people can also marry her, right? Or if she does have kids, maybe there's no mitzvah, but he's allowed to go ahead and have yibum with her, even though she has kids, right? Which we know is not the case. Or maybe it just means that it's only a lav about mechlal aseh. So therefore, kasav karachrina, another pasuk says erbas achiv. So therefore, another pasuk comes in this common weeks parsha. It says erbas achiv gila. It says that it's the erev of your brother. So why does it say again? To teach us that there is both maternal and paternal. So maybe it means that the Eishes Ach Mina Aim, that your brother's maternal, your maternal brother's wife is the same as your paternal brother's wife. Ma Eishes Ach Mina Av le'achar misas ba'ila sharia. In the case of your paternal brother, she's mutter ayi makam yibum. Af Eishes Ach Mina Aim. So too, maybe your maternal brother le'achar misas ba'ila sharia is mutter. Samakra, it says he, right? She will be, like she is. In other words, that only if the yibum is done only in the case of paternal and not a case of maternal, right? So now she remains as who she is. In other words, that if she is only his maternal. If he's his maternal brother's wife, then she remains that, but she cannot be his wife. Now, achayso dekasav ba kares lamali. So over there, where it says kares, right? So by all of the cases we know this kares. Why is it specifically mentioned kares once again by achayso lamali? If he does multiple arayas during the same moment of awareness, right? Then he's chai for each and every one. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Kol Chavi Krisis B'Chalal Havi. But according to Rabbi Yitzchak, who says all the Chavi Krisis are one general rule. And why is it specifically singled out in the case of a Chaisa, Laduna B'Kares, Falad Malchus, right? So to teach you that gets Kares and not Malchus, he has to exclude Malchus for another reason. So Chalik Minolan, how do we know that in a case of a person does multiple arayis belamachas, he's chayv for each everyone. So Nafkale, he learns that from Meviel Isha Benida Tumasa. So it says the pasuk. It says Velisha Benida Tumasa lo yistikar of the galos ervasa. That's the pasuk. So it says over there, Isha Tumasa the chayiv I'll call Isha v'Isha. Since it says Isha right over there, Vel Isha. So each and every Isha one would be chayiv for. I'll call Isha v'Isha. Now, Dodaso the kasav ba Rachman Ariri Miyu. That by over there by Dodaso, it says that there'll be aririm, right, without children, right, childless, right. The pasuk says v'isha asher yishkav as Dodaso ervas dodo gila chatam yis. It says yiso aririm yamus, right. You will die childless. So why does it say over there aririm you? So lamali. So look at the Rabbah, like Rabbah, the Rabbah Ramik says there's two psukim. One says aririm you. One says you will be childless. You aririm yamusu. And the other one says, right, you will die childless. So Hakate said, how is that? Yesh labanim. If he already has children at the time of the Vera, Kaivran, then he will bury them. Or another, they'll die for him. Ein loban, if he doesn't have children, halech hariri, then he will go. He will remain childless. V'itzich lemichtav haririm you, and they need both psukim haririm you. V'itzich lemichtav haririm yamus. Right, you will die. Why you will be childless, or you will die childless? Because of Rachman haririm you. If it says over there you will be childless, havamina ad chata, only until the avera. Right, but maybe afterwards, maybe he can still have children. So therefore, it says arim yamus. Therefore, it says he will die childless, and else he will continue even after the avera to be childless. Because of Rachman haririm yamus, you'll die childless. Havamina mechayta ve'elach. Right, that was only you'll die childless only if you have. Right, you won't have any more kids. Aval meikara lo, but those children who you had from the beginning, those will be around. So therefore, it's strictly the pasuk of whether it's if you had children from before, you will bury them, and if you didn't have children, you will remain without children. Fine. Ha'ara dechayve lavin minoah. So where do we know? So we mentioned also the Mishnah said. The Mishnah says. Right, it says by ha'ara we said, which was tchilas bia, right? We said or a case of psulas, not even case of chayvi lavin. So let's say Alman Lekoin Gold or the like. Those cases ha'ara is chayv. So ha'ara the chayvi lavin min Allah, and the Digal Rechman about the Torah says shikva zer gavi shivcha charufa. So it says by shivcha charufa. Right, by one's his maidservant, right, who was married to an eved, so that marriage is not considered fully like an Eishes Ish, right? So she's a shiva charufa. So it says shiva zer gavi shiva charufa mechlal the chavi lavin ba'ara. It says over there you need shikva zera, right? Shikva zera is the completion of bia. Right, so he says so you need over there by shivcha rufa in order to be chayv in the case of shivcha rufa if she's already considered to be married, right, to your maid to your servant. So only if in that case is shivcha zera. Only that case is complete gemiras bia. However, other cases only by gavi shivcha rufa, which is a regular lav. It's not a kares. The shivcha rufa, so shivcha zera gavi shivcha rufa michlal. The chayvi lav. In other cases of chayvi lav in ba'ara is only ha'ara. So Gemara says maybe no adarabah opposite. Maybe the other cases that we've learned till now discuss ha'ara, where we mentioned by three different cases. We saw ha'ara says over there, but chavi krisis mechlal de chavi lavin gemar bia. Maybe all cases of chavi lavin are gemar bia because we specifically said that ha'ara is by chavi krisis. So Ravashi in kain lishtakrav mishukha charufa. Right. If that's the case, then the Torah shouldn't have said shikazera by case of shikha charufa. And ha'ara the chavi lavin the kuna minala. So where do we know ha'ara? Right, that it is considered to be bia right? When it comes to Chavi Lavin of Kahuna, right? Such as, it says over there, right? By, let's say, Amana the Kohen Gadol, right? So those cases, the Chavi Lavin, the Kahuna Minolan. So Asya Kicha, right? So we learn over there, Kicha, right? It says over there by Chavi Krisis, is Isha Sher Yikach Es Achoiso, right? And it says by Chavi Lavin, by Kuna says Lo Yikachu, right? So since both of them say Kachu, so therefore, Ha'ara, since it works by Chavi Krisis, it also works by the Lavin of the Kuna. And the Chavi Asay, what about Chavi Asay, right? For instance, one is commanded, let's say it says, Mitzvah Adomi, right? Dor Shlishi. So it says, take in the third generation. Mashma, if you take it first 2 generations, it's only Chavi Asay. As you're commanded to take him in the third generation, Mashma, that you shouldn't take him in the first and second generation. That's called a Chavi Asay. So where do we know that cases of Chavi Asay, that one is Chavi even for Ha'ara? So Asya, turn the page. Bia. So we learned from Gzer Shava of Bia. So it says by Bia, it says Bia Yivami L'Shuk. So we learn Bia from Chavi Lavin, right? So Yavo Mamzer, and then it says also Yivami Yavola. So both cases we learned from there that Ha'ara works. Now Yivama L'Shuk Mino. What about Yivama L'Shuk? Ilaman Damer Lav. So what's that? If Yivama L'Shuk, if Yivama, and I was just waiting for Yibum. So what's her isser of marrying somebody else? If you say it's a lav, then we learn it from the case of lav. We just prove lavin and we just prove chavi aseh. And ilaman demer aseh, it's an aseh. So either one. Ella yavama minola. Rather, for the yavama, for the yibum itself, minolan. So asya bia says. So it says over there we learn the gzer shava of bia. Right, yavama yavoleha. And we said over there also that by the case of Ha'ara, also there we learned from the word bia. And Isha Labala Minola. And how do we know a woman to her husband, right? Let's say he wants to be Makadesh her with bia, that Ha'ara is considered to be a full Kenyan. So Asya Kicha, right? We learn over there the Gzer Shava of Kicha, right? Kikach Isha Bola. And then we learn over there by Chavi Krisis, it says Kicha. And Amar Rava, so says Rava, Lamali the Kasir Rachmana Shikha Zera b'Shikha Charufa. Why do we have the Shikha Zera by Shikha Charufa? The Shikha Zera b'Eishes Ish. Also it says, why do we have Shikha Zera when it says by Shikha Charufa? Why do we have Shikha Zera when it comes to mention the pasuk of Eishes Ish, a married woman, and Shikha Zera when it comes to Besot? The Shikha Charufa could Amran. By Shikha Charufa, we said earlier, he says over there that it has to be a Gemar Bia when it comes to Shikha Charufa to be Chayv, as opposed to other cases of lavin. The Eishesish, what about Eishesish? So Prat, the Mishamish Mace, right? So by Eishesish, right? So one is a woman is married to somebody else and she's Mizana with somebody else. So that it will exclude Mishamish Mace, right? That if he's not fully, if he's not able to have Bia, right? He's Mishamish Mace, right? He's not, no Kishui, right? So therefore, such a case, that's not called Bia, right? That's Mishamish Mace, right? It literally means dead, right? So it says Mishamish Mace. So in other words, why? Because Mishamish Mace is not able to for Shekha Zera. So therefore, it can't be Mishamish Meis. So therefore, Hinich Laman Domer Mishamish Meis Barai is Potter. This works well. According to Mishamish Meis Barai is Potter. Elaman Domer Chai, but according to the opinion, that Mishamish Meis is even Chai. It's Michael name. What do you say there? Ela problem Mishamish Mesa. Right? When she is dead. What do you mean she is dead? Obviously, that in terms of naturally, right? Only when it comes to Bia, right? He has to be, he has Kisha Midas, but she is more of a passive, passive participant, right? Ela problem Shamish Mesa means she's actually dead. Maybe since afterwards she's still called, related. Maybe if a woman who was married died and a person's meshamesh, he's working in the morgue, right? And his meshamesh basis while she's dead, kamash malon, that's nothing. As we shekazera, she can't. There's no way for her to have a baby while dead, so therefore that person would be put.
That guy should go to jail.
And should go to jail. The soita.
Some worse things than that.
Yeah. The sota lamali. So why does it say shekazera by sota? So lamali the Kedatanya. We learn in the Brayso. It says of the shechazer prala davar acher. It says over there he has to warn her. Right? She was secluded with somebody. Shechazer prala davar acher. My davar acher. So what does that exclude? Some Rav Sheshes is prala l'shekina la shaloi kedarka. Let's say he warns her, right? Stay away from this man, right? And don't have bia shaloi kedarka with him. He only warns her shaloi kedarka. So therefore, that's not the real type of warning to his wife. So what do I mean? We learned the passage of Mishkava Isha, the multiple ways of being with a woman. So it's kedarka and shaloi kedarka. So why isn't warning her shaloi kedarka, right? Why doesn't that work by sota? Now he warns her derech ivarim. In other words, where they're touching limbs, but there is no sort of bia, no sort of penetration that goes on, and therefore that's called derech ivarim. So Amalei Abayi preaches Rachmana, Asar Rachmana. Well, there's only preaches, right? It's not bia. So why should this completely be also on a doraisa level? Rather, he's warning her, right? Rather, it's not derech ivarim. Derech ivarim is mutter and a deraisa level. Rather, he warns her b'neshika. In other words, he warns her in terms of when there is contact b'makom erva. That's the neshika. So this works okay. In other words, to say that is no good because ha'ara, which we said tchilas bia, is right? It's the entering of the atara. That's the initial penetration. Elamandem is on the shika, but according to the opinion walls, the ha'ara is just merely contact. And now you're saying that warning for contact is no good. Remember what do you say? Really, he's warning her derech ivarim, right? Not to touch even any lips together. We still need a self-advice. I mean, the Baal Talachmana. Maybe you think that if the husband is makbid about anything, even derech ivarim, that would be good. And he's makbid that don't even touch the guy in not an inappropriate manner. Kamash Malon, that even such a warning does not do anything because derech ivarim is not considered to be any sort of bia, and therefore they would not make her a sota. All right, we'll stop here a little short. So tomorrow, Mr. Shem, we will continue from here.